originally, these were just talks between the two top leaders, but then subsequently their two cabinet ministers were also added for these talks. So very high stakes meeting that is currently underway at this moment in Anchorage in Alaska, something that very few people could have predicted. And this kind of a flight past with a B-2 stealth bomber and 4 other American fighter jets. Who could have expected that this is the manner in which the Russian president would be welcomed by the American president in Alaska, a territory that earlier was part of the Russian Empire, which was sold to the Americans in 1867 for a little more than $7 million. So before they landed, the White House had said that it would be a one-on-one meeting that had been planned between the two leaders, but it will now include advisors to the two men. The Russian officials accompanying Putin are the foreign policy aide Yuri Ushakov and the foreign minister Sergei Lavrov. So these two leaders are, of course, with the Russian president. So the Russian and the American presidents holding the meeting behind closed doors in Alaska. The residents of Russia are reacting with a certain level of cautious optimism. They're hoping for some kind of a positive outcome from this meeting. Listening to what's been said.
I think everything will work out and that only positive decisions will be made at this summit. I believe that the war that is going on will finally come to an end.
We would like to expect something positive, but if we are realistic, we are not expecting anything good. The only thing is that maybe at some point they will find a way to stop military action in some area, in the air, sea. But by and large, of course, no. There will be no halt to hostilities.
I hope they'll come to an agreement. A little bit of fatigue to live under sanctions. Well, what else can I say? In fact, in 2018, 2019, before all of this, life was somehow easier. I'm not saying that everything is wrong, but I would like it to be over as soon as possible.
It seems to me that this is an interim meeting. As for some specifics, if there are any, then they will not be drafted in an agreement soon. Of course, now they will divide the regions. There we are talking about controlled territories. Even Great Britain, as far as I know, does not want to send any troops anywhere. It will send them after the conflict ends. And as for Putin and Trump, I think it will be some kind of interim show.
We hope that one day everything will be fine, wonderful and peaceful, that we will be able to travel to other countries, that we will be able to continue to communicate with each other on any topic, and that we won't be afraid, not be afraid at all.
Now, on the other side of the front line, Ukrainians have reacted to the high-stakes meeting between Trump and Putin, discussions with hope for the war to end. But many are not counting on a substantial outcome from these talks. Listen in.
There has been a lot of talk about negotiations. This is not the first time something like this has happened to us. On this scale, perhaps it is the first time, but every time there are exaggerated expectations that are then completely unfulfilled, and every time it hurts. That is why I have taught myself not to dream, not to hope, but to live with what we have now.
I think they are afraid of each other. They can't come to an agreement. Not today, anyway. Maybe later. But today they'll probably just say hello, smile, and that'll be it.
Well, I would like for some stability to appear in our life so that there would not be these senseless human losses. So I hope that they will come to some positive decision.
Well, of course, they will try to reach an agreement, but the interests of Russia and America are completely diametrically different. Therefore, it is unlikely that there will be any effect from this.
All right, so two leaders, two playbooks. Trump wielding tariffs like a wand and leaving allies rattled. Putin defying the West, keeping Russia's economy alive under the harshest sanctions ever. Now, both of them are unpredictable, both of them are unyielding, and both are steering the world into some uncharted waters. So as they meet in Alaska, let's in fact take a look at their personalities, their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and also their threats that they'd be confronted with. Now, my colleague Rahisha Sehgal gets you more details on this.
Let's first focus on US President Donald Trump. His strength now is his tariff power. Trump uses secondary tariffs as leverage to influence rivals while keeping global attention fixed on his agenda. That's his strength, the tariff hammer. Now, Trump's weakness could be alienating the allies. Key US allies rather feel ignored, punished, and left out of the big calls, even punished under his transactional diplomacy for the weakening the coalition's strength. So that's Trump's weakness. So what could be Washington's opportunity here? America's market dominance allows Donald Trump to press both adversaries and partners into concessions, translating into economic leverage. So that's the opportunity, the market muscle. If you look at the threat that Trump could face, Washington could perhaps face counter tariffs, legal challenges, lawsuits, and homegrown opposition. All these factors loom and they threaten to blunt Trump's policy wins. And lastly, when we talk about Trump, what is US President's wild card? Well, his shock moves, no surprises there. US President keeps adversaries cautious but leaves allies uneasy, uncertain perhaps of his next move. Let's now look at Russian President Vladimir Putin's playbook now. What are his strengths, weaknesses, and all of that? First up, the strength, total control. Well, Putin controls Russia's political, security, and intelligence networks with a near total authority. His weakness could be his costly military campaigns, the war drain here. Well, Russia strained resources, which makes Russia isolated from West and risk the nation's long-term economic erosion. Putin's opportunity is the global South, the southward shift. Putin uses fractures in the West to deepen ties with China, India, and BRICS partners. What could be possible threat to Russia right now? Well, it is the overstretched risk of conflicts and cost may strain the public patience here, the domestic patience, and more military focus translating into war fatigue. And lastly, what is the Russian president's wild card here? Since Russia's economy has endured record sanctions, pivoting trade to Asia, so the biggest wild card in Putin's playbook can be sanction revival. So this was the list of the strengths and the weaknesses and the wild card of Trump and Putin as they meet in Alaska in just a short while from now.